On the surface, 0 is a strange and disturbing choice for a jersey number. By selecting it, a player seems to be implying that he has no tangible value, that he is worthless, a total non-factor. That's an excerpt from a New York Times article titled "The Value of 0," written back in 2007. It was an insightful look into the jersey number 0 being increasingly worn across the basketball world around that time, having been immensely popularized by former NBA All-Star Gilbert Arenas. Arenas had elevated the status of the number, transforming the prestige of 0 as Agent 0. Along with Gilbert Arenas, there was a young man from Long Beach, California, who would also don the number 0. Like Arenas, he'd rise to prominence wearing that number, elevating its value even further beyond what Arenas achieved. UCLA added a 3-star point guard named Russell Westbrook to play as Darren Collison's backup. He entered the program as a defensive specialist, having an unnatural motor on the court, an attribute he never relinquished. In his freshman year, he'd see playtime sparingly, playing less than 10 minutes a game on a stacked Bruins unit that would make it to the Final Four. Collison was hurt for the first 6 games of 2008, and those 3 weeks were all it took to expedite Westbrook's integration into the Bruins system as a second-year player. Even in Collison's return, there was no looking back for Westbrook. He quickly became the best defender in the former legendary Pac-12 conference, being awarded the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. He also became a top 2 point guard in the country, coming second to a 6'2" freshman from the University of Memphis by the name of Derrick Rose. His sophomore rise on one of the best teams in the country signified that he was league-bound. He declared for the NBA draft shortly after a heartbreaking loss in the Final Four to Memphis, coincidentally. Westbrook went 4th overall to the Seattle Supersonics, who were seeking a gem to pair alongside their 21-year-old megastar, Kevin Durant. By the time he signed his name on a dotted line, the Seattle Supersonics became the Oklahoma City Thunder. He'd hit the track like a prized thoroughbred, averaging 15 points per game as a rookie. It only took him a month to score 30 points in a game, doing so on December 6, 2008 against the Miami Heat, and on March 2, 2009, Russell Westbrook recorded his first triple-double against the Dallas Mavericks with 17 points, 10 assists, and 10 rebounds.
I'll bet you a quarter he gets, and I think he will, this last rebound.
The commentators were certain he'd accomplish the feat that night, a wise assumption given that if there's anyone you can count on to secure a triple-double, it's number 0. But his crescent would inform for years to come. In his first 6 seasons, Westbrook averaged 20 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds, numbers that are a far cry from what he was capable of. Unfortunately, we rarely saw him in burst mode because he'd cede majority of the fire to his MVP teammate Kevin Durant. Despite Russ's excellence, Durant was an undeniable phoenix. His dominance commanded him to be the center of attention, which meant not 1, but 2 future MVPs had to play behind him. The team managed to do great things with that trio, but the NBA Finals was too early a stage for this developing squad to handle. They possessed limitless talent, but individually their true potential could never be reached under the same roof. Each man had to forge his own path, not to be dwarfed by another. At that time, no one could have anticipated James Harden's metamorphosis following his departure from Oklahoma City. But even back then, it was obvious that Durant's brilliance was barricading Westbrook's elevation. Russ was eclipsed by Durant's shadow. The sidekick label was bestowed upon him, and it was a fate he did not wish to have. There's players who are definite sidekicks to superior talents. In spite of Scottie Pippen's greatness, he was Michael Jordan's sidekick. Paul Gasol became the Lakers' savior during their back-to-back championship runs, but he was Kobe Bryant's vice captain, and the Black Mamba was formed as a result of living in the shadows of another. In Kobe Bryant's case, it was under Shaquille O'Neal during their three-peat, and Westbrook was defiant of his narrative, hell-bent to prove his worth. After Durant's extraordinary 2013-14 MVP season, he'd have surgery to treat a Jones fracture in October of 2014. He suited up for 27 games before being shut down for the remainder of the season following a bone graft surgery. After surrendering control to the reigning MVP, Westbrook was thrust to the front seat. Durant's injury opened the door, and in retrospect, this injury might have been the defining moment in Westbrook's jump beyond the stars. Unleashing him changed the trajectory of his career from a great second option to one of the greatest point guards to ever grace the court. In 67 games, Westbrook's numbers were astounding. 28, 9, and 7. For an entire season, Russ manned the helm and he became an MVP candidate. OKC finished a game shy of the 8th seed with a record of 45 wins to 37 losses. Westbrook almost managed to secure a playoff berth void of Durant's participation. It was clear that Oklahoma City had a two-body problem. Their celestial duo possessed the ability to lead a unit, yet neither could forfeit control. Their gravitational forces were too powerful, and either overlap or total collapse seemed inevitable. That solo run in 2015 created the Brody. Westbrook's regression to norm following Durant's return was confinement. Shackles bound him once more, except this time around, he knew it was preposterous to clip his wings. Brody could run on his own just fine. Their dynamic was never the same. Seeing what Harden had done since his arrival in Houston made you wonder what Westbrook was capable of. But these thoughts were secondary at that point, since the Thunder were deep in the trenches of the West, fighting for contention. In 2016, the Thunder advanced to the Western Conference Finals to face off against the 73-9 Golden State Warriors. Westbrook and Durant were confronted by an obstacle of monumental proportions. They were one step away from returning to the NBA Finals, and the only obstruction in their path of glory was the greatest regular season team ever. Yet, in stunning fashion, the Thunder brought this juggernaut to its feet. With a commanding 3-1 lead, it seemed a foregone conclusion that the Thunder were finals bound to face off against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But that's not how this tale ends. Oklahoma City's season ended in distraught, not delight. The Warriors won the next 3 games, and swiftly the Oklahoma City Thunder had choked the 3-1 lead. That Game 7 loss in Golden State was the night Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook's partnership died. At this point, what happens next is well known. KD, in many people's eyes, stabbed his brother in the back and jumped ship for the enemy. He was now at Golden State, and Westbrook could do whatever he wanted in Oklahoma City. And for the next 5 years, the NBA world had the privilege to witness one of the greatest peaks in league history. In the 2016-2017 season, Russell Westbrook catapulted himself to the realm of immortality after producing a year for the ages. As a solo act, illuminated once again after Durant's exit, number 0 tore every shred of logic surrounding volume offense. 8 years ago, triple-doubles were still a feat of rarity. They were scarcely achieved and celebrated as a significant accomplishment. Russell Westbrook did not see it that way. Russ, at this point, was already a nightly triple-double threat. He had 37 career triple-doubles leading up to the 2016-2017 season, which already placed him in the top 15 all-time. He wanted to be more. He needed to be more. He needed more triple-doubles. He was set to annihilate the record books, and he brought upon a fitting onslaught, becoming the first human being since the Big O to average a triple-double in a season. And on top of that, he broke the record for most triple-doubles in a season with 42. He broke 2 records that had stood for half a century. And not only did he average a triple-double, but he was putting up 30 a night as well. And he was snagging 10 rebounds a game at 6'3". Just think about that. He was chaos in human form. His relentlessness was an unyielding force. The man shattered records and seized the MVP through sheer will. Every single claim about his motor was correct. Few played the game with the intensity he did. His second best teammate was Victor Oladipo, pre-All-Star, along with Enes Kanter, Steven Adams, and Andre Roberson. People don't understand how insane it is that he took this squad to the playoffs during an era featuring the Golden State Warriors, San Antonio Spurs, and the Houston Rockets at the height of their power. And after accomplishing the impossible, as is to be expected from him, Russ did not hit the brakes. 2017 was not a standalone moment. Westbrook continued to dominate for the next 4 years, averaging a triple-double in 3 of them. There's only 5 seasons in NBA history where a player has averaged a triple-double, and 4 of them belong to Westbrook. Since his monumental season, players such as Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic have come close to achieving the feat, but both fell short of the mark. Not even prime James Harden could do it, and he was an offensive system by himself. LeBron's never done it, and he has every record there is. These are some of the greatest offensive weapons the game has ever seen, yet none can hold a candle to Russ. They'd be lucky to achieve the feat once. The Brody did it 4 times at the height of his career. His name is synonymous with the stat, and his legacy will be etched for every succeeding generation. Russell Westbrook is not the king of triple-doubles, he is the triple-double.
Adams gives it back to Russ. Deep shot! Get it! What a perfect ending to a historic day!
Thanks for watching.